Hi everyone, I'm going to talk about the etiquette of social media for my midterm project. And I would like to start with this quote, which I think it sets a perfect tone for the design that I'm going to introduce to you all. And with the information I would like to emphasize is the highlighted word as a new era of teaching and learning is on the rise. A student-centered, technological, and socially rich environment that promises a breakthrough across the education spectrum. And I would like to emphasize the last two words, exchange information, which is the main thing, the topic that I'm going to talk about, the manner for exchanging information. And I'm going to discuss from the background information to start with. So, as we are all living in a digital ecosystem, social media manners seem to be just as essential as fundamental as table manners that we've been taught since we were little. So, all types of mannerism, etiquettes, and social norms are embedded into society over time. Are the same goes for social media manners. Learning and abiding by such manners will help us to come across more professionally, more interpersonally, and more rationally, just to avoid looking like out of place. So that, however, we see that proper online education behavior appears to receive insufficient attention in family education and school education. So that this design aims to raise the awareness for both educational institutions and family educations on proper online communication manners. So the etiquette of social media can allow learners to connect and communicate with others in the world in a collaborative and harmonious way. There are four stakeholders that I'm analyzing here. First of all, government, which can set out legislations and to encourage the schools and families to participate in proper education manners in social media, which they do play an important role. Further, that gives the guidance for the educational institutions that they will set out a more updated and new today's curriculum that involves the proper educational manners on social media, and families which should also include this kind of topic in the family education, so that the students and encourage the students to practice to take into actions on this matter. And the learning objective is that the students needs to first to understand the importance of proper online education, so that further they will be able to identify the appropriate actions, and so that in the end they will practice and adopt to use the proper etiquettes of social media network. And it's really important through this objective that we will be able to raise the awareness and promote critical thinking and reflective thinking abilities over this online engagement experiences. So it's really about think before we communicate, as we need to be responsible for our words online. So this design is based on two theories. First is the theory of planned behaviors, which introduce that attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavior control are influencing our words online, and which are perceived differently and reflects individuals' positive and negative evaluation online. And the second learning theory is that the three-board learning theory, which includes the behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism, which I would like to emphasize that constructivism suggests that learners create knowledge as they attempt to understand their experiences, while cognitive often takes computer information processing model, as learning is viewed as a process of inputs managed in a short time memory and coded for long-term recall. Therefore, that we need to be responsible for the words online while we're constructing our opinions, and these are all involved in the educational curriculum design. And this can be included in a checklist that one designed for themselves or for the business model for a company, as these questions need to be think reflectively, that we think for multiple times or double time before we make a social media post. Like, for example, is it appropriate for social media portal of the post that we're about to post? And how would I offend anyone? If I'm offending anyone, who will be offended and will it be matter? And so furthermore, this idea has both strengths and weaknesses, as although it is well supported by the theories and analysis, and it provides fundamental map for encouraging a positive social media learning experience, it also could trigger the criticism of not having free speech online, and as it also will require large preparation work for the teachers and for the school system and even government, as this will be a big shift from traditional learning to a social media learning perspective. So this design really focused for the learners to be able to practice and adopt to use proper etiquettes of social media networks. And the conclusion is that this is a necessary and fundamental step to take, as it will enable the learners to have the ability to generate proper social media content and identify the inappropriate manners, so that we can construct a healthy, harmonious, and informative online communications platform. And the school system should emphasize on this ideology. And these are the references that I would like to thank to. And thank you very much for listening to my presentation.